Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. Silent Spring itself is quite influential. That's why today we are doing a summary of chapters 11 all the way to 17. Let us get this started with. First off, we have Silent Spring. DDT and its cancerous effects. We finally get into the words of cancer, and as we go into cancer, we really are told more about the facts of DDT, as in the fact of when DDT was started being sprayed, it was like 5.4 parts per million within our body of DDT, some arbitrary number like that. Probably more now, probably less nowadays, but it was kind of like a 5 point something number, and then it was said to increase to like a 7 point. I don't really remember the decimal points, but I think it was like 2 or 6 or 4. It was an even number. Regardless, though, that is how much of an increase of DDT was put into our bodies. And it was just in like 20 or 30 so years. That's pretty much the only thing that literally changed us to Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. Speaking of which, with that increase in DDT, other health risks have definitely increased as well too. One of them being the fact that cancer rates could go up. DDT, any foreign chemical within your body is definitely not good for you, especially if the headline claims to say harmless to humans. Well, it's very harmful to humans as well too. DDT itself is quite the killer. Cancer itself is just one of the byproducts of DDT. It's a pretty rare byproduct. Yeah, I mean, if it was pretty common, then pretty much everyone who had a little bit of DDT within them would get cancer in one way or another. But cancer would sprout. In fact, Rachel Carson herself died of breast cancer caused by DDT. We have no idea. Most likely not. But seriously though, this went ahead and kept going on and on and on for a while. That cancer would go ahead, mutate themselves into differences. And as soon as that came in, we have other mutations as well too. Keep in mind that when Silent Spring was written, genetics, like the field of genetics, was pretty much in infancy. It was in its infancy, and not everyone really knew what the genetics part really was. Not everyone kind of knew about it. But regardless, though, that is kind of what happened. She herself is probably used radioactive, there was this term that she used as shorthand. She used radiation poisoning as shorthand, and, well, as the name suggests, it's just poisoning from radiation. Apparently, people thought that radiation would be the same that cells are seen because they realized that there's little chance of a mutation happening if you use radiation, which inspires the comics of radiations, like Radioactive Man. Apparently, that was a real thing. And the Hulk, one of the most famous radioactively poisoned superheroes ever, and etc, etc, etc. Seriously though, that was pretty much one of the inspirations. Radioactive poisonings though, people then realized that if you spray too much radiation on someone, like a human being, well then you pretty much doomed them to death, because radiation itself is pretty long lasting and it will destroy your cells. Radiation is terrible and you will not do anything about it. You cannot really do anything about it, except try to dilute the radiation, and if you even somehow survive, you will be really, really damaged that your immune system will probably not be up to date. And a not up to date immune system is pretty much say, come attack me message towards different viruses that have either attacked you before or have never attacked you before, especially never attacked you before kind of viruses. Silent Springs went ahead and taught us all about this, like the mutations and the histories about all this. And she went ahead and told how humans will inevitably, once again she tells us how humans will inevitably lose this war. Due to the fact that maybe it's just the fact that, well, we humans have went ahead and not done anything really well against nature. Nature's balance will always win in the end, because we humans are part of that nature's balance. We humans will try to become masters over that balance, but that will always end poorly for us, because whether or not, whatever we do, nature's balance will always win. Or maybe nature itself will break apart, but then it will always take humans down with us. It will always take humans, us humans, down with it. Yeah, that's nature for 101 for you. So that's why we have to go ahead and coexist harmoniously with nature. Instead of trying to harness nature, you should go ahead and you should try to be friends with nature, befriend nature, and be cooperative with nature. Don't try to force it into submission, I cannot say the word. it's a bad word, so I cannot say the word because this is family friendly. But you can go ahead and try to become partners with it, because we, mankind, will eventually have to work together with Mother Nature to go ahead and create the child of the future. You might not even understand the reference, but if you don't, that's way better for you. Basically saying that you and Mother Nature will go ahead, get together, and help create the future. And as you go ahead and create the future, that's where we will live in. We humans will live in. Sure, that won't happen in my lifetime. Probably won't happen in my kid's lifetime. Okay, maybe in my kid's lifetime, but very high chance it'll be when they're old. But definitely sometime in the near future. And when I say near future, I mean like in a few 100 years. 100 years is nothing compared to the thousands of years that we've lived on this earth. And that's nothing compared to the millions of years that the earth has existed. In fact, it's like 4 point something billion years old. Or maybe that's just the age of the universe. Regardless though, this is how Rachel Carson's Silent Spring exists. Later on, she even uses this poem from Robert Mueller, and it's about like the path least taken. And the path least taken is always the path that's like quite unattractive. But that is the paths that we are on right now. We are given the options of two paths. Like, here, let me draw the paths themselves. First off, you have the option of going into a long and easy road, but at the end, it's disaster. You fall over the cliff. Or you could try this road. A long and windy road. That's really long and really inconvenient. But when you reach the end, it will be a goal that you have always dreamed about. It's the goal that we humans are aiming for. So we could just go ahead and try out this direction and lead towards our success. Or we could try this selection and fall back down into our dark ages, where we would go ahead and go into a world where insects are immune to everything that we throw at them. And as a result, nothing like that ever happens to us again. Unless we somehow create a new chemical insecticide and we use it again, so we're always going to have to adapt. Unfortunately, that is nature. And Charles Darwin was right. This was one of the best ways, this is one of the best examples of natural selection that have ever existed in the entire life. DDT itself was pretty ineffective when flies won't even walk on it. Sometimes flies will go ahead and flies have eventually realized that, well, DDT, walking in DDT equals instant death, and so the ones who didn't do it, well, was able to survive. As a result, they learned do not touch DDT or have minimal contact with DDT, because apparently a few micrograms is nothing to an insect, but a few grams will be something towards an insect. Some insects themselves have went ahead and adapted to the DDT itself and have naturally selected themselves against resistance to DDT. And instead of staying at homes where DDT is sprayed often, they go under bridges where DDT is sprayed least often, because that's where people usually are not at. She uses this as a wake-up call, saying that we have to make a choice, whether we go ahead, do something that seems easy for short-term benefits, but long-term isn't going to work out. Whatever choice we humans take, we must do the right choice. The long, easy, tempting path that we're on, or we can switch the long, even longer, twisting, complicated road that we should be on. But at the end of that road will be something incredible. The future of mankind is always in our hands. And this is pretty much how Rachel Carson ends her book. And the afterword written by someone else, not Rachel Carson, we go ahead and are taught and are told that few books actually influence people that much. One of the few un-Americans, to be honest. Rachel Carson's Silent Spring was one of the most influential books after Harriet Beecher's Uncle Tom's Cabin. That's pretty much all we get. And that's pretty much all I am happy with. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And until next time, on out, peace. Bye bye. I highly recommend reading this book. It's very impactful.